What is the scariest glitch in the Matrix you have experienced? Went to sleep at 10 PM, woke up at 9 PM on the same day. I still don't understand. I woke up with 3 shirts on and 5 pairs of underwear. I was like 8 and thought the budgie monster did it. Scarred me for life. The budgie monster works in mysterious ways. I was completely convinced that my family had told me that my uncle died. I even bummed out about it and talked to people at work about it. Then 2 weeks later my sister brought him up, and I said, wait, he's dead. What are you talking about? And realized that my brain had just fabricated all the memories. Very spooky. At work, bored as heck, check my contacts for someone to talk. Scrolling down I notice a high school GF's name who I lost touch with for a couple of years. I mean, no phone calls, no discussions with common friends about her, nothing. The very moment I saw her phone number, boom, she rang. I saw my female doppelganger once. We were walking past each other in a train station. We both turned around to look at the other person after we had passed each other, jerked our heads and scrunched our faces like, do I know you? Gave a surprised wide-eyed look like that was pretty weird. Then another slightly more exaggerated that was even weirder, followed by an audible in unison what the frick and nervous laughter. Followed by a quick turn around and hurry away and one last what the frick was that look back as we scurried away. If a bystander saw it they would have thought it was scripted. Weird crap, man. You were near a mirror. I had the exact same day twice. They weren't dreams. I got a cool new toy in the form of a Batman keychain. My brother had Robin. We were jumping from one bed onto another in our small room pretending to fight crime, and I dropped my keychain on the floor in the corner of the room where my bed was against the wall. I could not find the dang thing. I walked downstairs and my mom had it. I have no idea why. I walked into the kitchen to tell my mom I lost it and she was holding it. To this day I have no idea why she had it. She doesn't remember the situation and didn't give me a real answer when I asked how she got it back then. I'm still completely freaking baffled. Laying on my bed with the door open, I hear something moving in the house. I was alone and get nervous. I stare at the end of the hallways, but then my dog ambles across going to another room. The sound was just him scratching. I watch him go into the other room and lay down. I glance up 3 seconds later and he is walking down the hallway again from where he originated, not where he had laid down. Like he teleported back to a spawn and walked back there again. Needless to say, I lost my crap. When I was a kid I would always have the same recurring nightmare at my grandpa's house. The dream was always about a man accidentally catching himself on fire and burned to death. Couple of months ago I found out that a man recklessly caught himself on fire while he was building my grandfather's house. My grandpa even put out the fire and held the guy before he died. This happened about 2 weeks ago. It was hot and there was a storm approaching, so I decided I would jump in the pool real quick and be out before the hail starts. After about a minute in the water I look up to check and see 2 eagles just floating there, not moving at all, like time stopped. I'm sure they were just riding the current, but they didn't sway even a bit. Not left, not right, not up or down, nothing. I was like, frick it, dived underwater for a while, and when I came back up they were in another part of the sky, again not moving. Those are just the NSA's Freedom drones. 2 days ago I grab a Calvin and Hobbes book while searching for pregnancy books for my manager whose wife is pregnant. I haven't touched this book in years. I open it up and I find an old birthday card from my wife saying, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. She died 2.5 years ago. Today is my birthday. I was at a bar once and I saw someone walk up the stairs with a similar haircut and glasses and thought, ah, there I am walking up the stairs. It was really weird. I actually thought I was watching myself walk up the stairs. I was running to catch a football in elementary school and it was super far away. The next thing I remember is me having the ball in my hand and everyone just donning a shocked expression. I asked them how the heck I got there, and they had no clue. It was fricked up to say the least. I thought I was Neo for a good while. I started that app Tinder recently and was chatting with one of the first girls I matched with. I asked her about a tattoo on her arm that I saw in one of her photos. It looked to me like a flaming top hat, so I jokingly asked if that what it actually was. A few hours later, I was sitting in my bed reading the book The Unbearable Lightness of Being when I see a phone notification. She'd responded, "Haha, no, it is actually a bowler hat and arms. The artwork from my favorite book, The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera." My grandmother passed when I was young, maybe 8. When I was around 16, I had a dream that I was hanging out with her and talking and catching up. She stood up in the dream to leave and I begged her not to and asked when I could see her again. She said nothing, but pointed to a calendar that had a date circle. I remembered the date when I woke up. It was several months in the future and told my mom about my dream, as she was always interested in that kind of stuff. Several months go by and the date and the dream is approaching within the next few days. My cousin's husband gets killed in a freak car accident, and my parents fly across the country to be with family. They are to be gone over the date in the dream, and my mom, being superstitious about the dream, makes me promise not to leave the house that day. I agree, no big deal. My parents were going to be gone. What did I need to leave for? The day in the dream arrives and my friend calls me up to ride into the city with him. I say no thanks. Late that night, I get a call from him that he was in a bad car accident and his car's totaled. Passenger side all smashed to heck. Had I been with him? I had a weird dream with monsters in my house and crap. Then I wake up and find a monster sleeping next to me and freak out and scream. The dream repeats itself and I wake up again to find the monster next to me. It repeated itself to what seemed like endlessly until I actually woke up sweaty as frick. I was at the store when I heard my boyfriend's ringtone on my phone. I went to answer but couldn't find my phone. I had forgotten it at home because I had plugged it into charge. When I got home I saw a missed call from him at the time I heard the ringtone. When I was a kid I had what I think was a ghost that just stared at me when I was in bed. It just stayed in the doorway and was kind of like a white shadow. It even stayed there after I rearranged my bedroom. It was there for several months. I told my mom and friends about it. Finally, one of my friends told me to ask what it wants. Simple question that I never thought of. The night that I decided to ask, it didn't show up. Never saw it since. I was about 7 or 8. Now I'm 31. My mother's grandma died before my sister was born, so she never had the chance to meet her, which was a shame. She was such a lovely soul. One day my sister was playing in the backyard in the sand pit. My parents were just on the porch with our grandparents drinking coffee. My mum glances over to my sister, 3 years old when this happened, and she sees her looking at nothing and talking, almost as if she was having a conversation with somebody. My mum wasn't fazed. It's somewhat normal for young kids to have imaginary friends or exhibit left of center behavior, but nonetheless, she thought she'd just walk over to see what was going on. She sits in the sand pit next to her and asks her who she's talking to. My sister replies with, "I'm talking to Nana." That's a bit strange because Nana is still on the porch drinking her coffee, but okay, she'll entertain my sister. What do you mean? Nana is sitting over there. My sister, still not really looking at my mum, just replies with, "Your Nana." At this point, my mum is just simply WTFing all the way into the house. As soon as she heard this, she grabbed a photo album, took a photo of her nan in her favorite dress and walked back to my sister. She asked me sister to tell her what Nana looked like and what she was wearing. Described it to the dot. My sister was never shown these photos. I, who was alive and had met her, couldn't have described her to even half the accuracy. Just nope. I was home alone on a stormy night and had a migraine. After a few hours of laying in bed, I passed out. When I woke up, my 250-pound desk was moved across the room, near the door. Now, the issue with this is that I'm not even 120 pounds. Searched my house frantically, hoping nobody was there, but for an explanation, nothing was found. Alarm was still on. My heart was still racing. When I was maybe about 10, I was watching a TV show in my room while my older sisters watched the same show in the lounge. They were being mean and wouldn't let me watch in the same room as them. Anyway, halfway through the show it starts fast forwarding. Except I wasn't watching it from a video, it was playing in real time. The fast forwarding went on for well over a minute until I decided to run down to ask my sisters what was happening. When I got to the lounge I noticed the same show was running perfectly, no fast forwarding. I ran back to my room and it was still fast forwarding. I was confused and freaked out and I think I just changed the channel. My family just laughed at me when I told them, but it still confuses me. I assumed the show was trying to frick with people by purposely making it seem like it was fast forwarding. but it was only on my TV and it went on for so long. I was on a cemetery. For some reason I took a path that I have never taken and I found a tombstone with my own name and surname on it. A little background. This is one of my earliest memories, so I was probably between ages 2 and 3, and I lived in a ranch style home in a nice neighborhood. The only people at home were me and my mom. My sister was at school and my dad was working. It's a nice day out, probably right around noon. It's hot, so we've got the front door open with the screen door locked. I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, which is only 2 or 3 feet from the door, playing with a toy cash register. I look up from my toy and see a man standing behind the screen door. I don't remember him walking up the driveway, just him suddenly being there. He's wearing a police outfit. I'm confused, and he just kind of smiles at me. I should mention that I wasn't scared at all. There was a policeman at the screen door and in my young mind there was nothing off about that. So I called to my mom that there was a man at the door. My mom was in the kitchen, which was attached to the living room, so it didn't take long for her to come to me. She walked into the room and immediately I could tell something was very, very wrong. She paused once she saw the man, and then power walked straight for me, picked me up, and ran into the hallway where we couldn't be seen from the door. I remember being held close to her chest and being extremely confused. She looked extremely frightened. We stayed there for a while, and eventually when we came back out, the man was gone. The memory ends there. Nearly 2 decades later I still don't have a clue what happened that day. A few years ago I brought it up with my mom, but she kind of just brushed off the question and I didn't push it. Now I'm just afraid to ask. This happened back when I was dating the guy I eventually married. His name was Todd. It was in the 90s. No cell phones or caller ID. I was at home and the phone rang. I answered it and it was a guy who said, "Is Cindy there?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." He responded with, "Hi, it's Todd," and we proceeded to have a 5-minute conversation. After a while he mentions a name I don't recognize. I said so and asked for clarification. After a little back and forth, we realize we are the wrong Cindy and the wrong Todd. So, he called a wrong number and got me. He's dating a Cindy and I'm dating a Todd. It ranks amongst the strangest phone call I've ever gotten. Once, in primary school, I was standing next to the flagpole in the main field. I don't recall what I was doing, but I was surrounded by children running around and playing. I looked up, and suddenly, I felt as though an enormous quantity of water had been dropped on my head, like a swimming pool's worth. I could feel the cold water running over me, turbulent, as though I were in a stormy ocean swell. I remember panicking and flailing about, gasping for breath. Then it ended, just as suddenly as it had begun. I looked about, and all the children were running around and playing like before, as though nothing had happened at all. No one even glanced in my direction. I ran my hands over my clothes, but they were completely dry. I looked up, and saw a lone seagull perched on the flagpole. It spread its wings and flew away lazily. One day in school, I had a blue pen on my book and a red pen in my hand. I heard sirens drive by and looked out the window. When I looked back down, my blue pen was replaced with a red pen. I then had 2 red pens and no blue pens. I was brushing my teeth once and I swear I saw, for a split second, myself looking down in the mirror. Not my experience, but my mother's, and I was with her at that time. My mother went to the doctor and she needed to do some breathing tests for her lungs. She never smoked in her life. I went with her. She needed to breathe very hard through a small tube with a clip on her nose, in different ways for like 1 hour. She told me it really hurt and she went dizzy. After the first few minutes she started to cry because it felt like the scariest thing she had ever done. She said it needed to be done, so we continued when she had maimed up a little bit. Something like after 45 minutes, when she just did the so-called hard punch breath, it was like she died instantly. Her skin turned pale, empty eyes, no breath, no movements, and didn't react to anything we said when we said something or touched her for like 1 minute. Suddenly she came back to life. Normal skin color, bright eyes, but very confused. We paused for like 5 minutes and continued to finish the last few easier tests. After that she told she was seeing me, the doctor, and herself from above her body for a few seconds. Then she looked up and she saw her mother, my grandmother, who was already dead for plus 20 years. My grandmother pushed her down back into her body and disappeared. She didn't connect with her body directly for a few seconds. She said she was moving but her body didn't and she didn't felt anything. Then she connected again. May seem stupid, but I lost my glasses. Took them off to wash my face. Came back. 30 seconds later they were gone. Searched my house with mom and brother for 3 hours. Finally assumed I somehow flushed them. Got new glasses. 2 weeks later I come home from work and set my work shoes next to my desk. Decide maybe an hour later to go out. Reach for my shoes. Glasses are on top of my shoes that I set down an hour ago. Perfectly folded. Got a DVD back from a friend after several months and when I put it back on the shelf, it was already there. So I have the same DVD twice since then. SHHH. Like this video, but quietly so you don't wake up the sleeping papa. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.